you're eating healthy and still not losing weight, it might not be what you're eating, but when. Most women know what to eat. Got to eat more protein, got to eat more vegetables, take it easy on the processed food, and probably cut back on sugar. But there's another piece of the puzzle that not enough people are talking about, and that is when you get your nutrients. And if you're a woman in your 40s, 50s, or older, timing becomes even more important because as estrogen declines, our bodies become less sensitive to protein. That means that it takes a stronger signal to initiate the muscle building processes than it did when we were younger. So it's no longer just about hitting your daily protein goal, but it's also about how that protein is distributed throughout the day. I'm Dr. Rachel Felber. I'm an emergency medicine physician and a women's health and strength coach. And today I want to walk you through macro timing, what actually matters, what doesn't, and how to use timing to support building muscle, losing fat, overall energy, and recovery. This is one of the most common problems that I see in women who are eating healthy, including eating enough protein, but are still struggling to lose fat. They eat a tiny breakfast, maybe coffee and some toast, a small lunch, maybe a salad, maybe a snack or two, and then the majority of their calories are eaten after 6 p.m. I see this all the time, and I was a victim of this myself. When I worked in the ER, I would work 10 to 12-hour shifts, and I would have a nice meal before going into the shift, and I would pack 2 to 3 meals, really well-designed, perfect macros, mostly whole foods, meals that I was proud of and excited for. And then I would get to work, and things were busy, and patient after patient and nonstop catastrophes. And I'd think, man, I'm hungry. I should probably eat. I'd have that thought about 20 or 30 times, and each time followed by, well, things are really busy. Now's not really the right time. I'll get to that later when things calm down. And inevitably, the shift would end. I wouldn't have eaten anything or maybe a small snack or so. And I would come home absolutely ravenous, and I would eat everything that I had packed in my lunchbox, plus more. I would just destroy the kitchen. It felt so good and so horrible at the same time. And that was my pattern for years, actually. And I know that lots of women do this. We're all busy, and saying, I didn't have time to eat kind of becomes default. Now, you can hit your daily macro goals this way, but it is far from optimal for building muscle, losing fat, having sustained energy throughout the day, not feeling hungry and cranky all day, and supporting recovery and cognition and a healthy metabolism and all of these things that we really care about. So instead of thinking, how am I going to get 120 or 140 grams of protein in a day, I want you to start thinking, how am I going to give my body the nutrients that it needs consistently throughout the day? Our body needs resources all throughout the day. Your muscles, your hormones, your immune system, they need resources all throughout the day, not just a massive dump at 8 p.m. When we're talking about macro timing, protein really matters the most. When we eat protein, it is broken down into amino acids, and those amino acids are used for pretty much everything that your body needs to make and do. So including muscle building and repair, neurotransmitter production, hormone production, immune system health, tissue repair, and about 100,000 other things. Here's what's really important. Muscle protein synthesis doesn't just get turned on because you ate a little bit of protein. You need to reach something called the leucine threshold. Now, leucine is a very special amino acid. You can think of it like the key to the engine. You need enough leucine in each meal, so per sitting, to jumpstart muscle building. And if a meal falls short, then you sort of miss that opportunity to take advantage of muscle building. Now, most women need about 30 grams of high quality protein per meal to actually hit that leucine threshold. One of the most important times, especially for a postmenopausal woman, to get enough protein in is immediately after your workout. So that means ideally eating at least 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes of finishing a high intensity workout. So if you're going for a walk or something like that, not as important, but A HIIT workout or a hard strength session, yes, 30 grams within 30 minutes. Why is this? Resistance training temporarily makes your muscles more receptive to amino acids. When you finish a hard workout, your muscles are basically looking for amino acids to pull in so that they can start rebuilding and repairing themselves. And now, this is called the anabolic window, and it's actually different for postmenopausal women as it is for men and for premenopausal women. And this is because of something called anabolic resistance. So as our estrogen declines, our muscles become less receptive to protein and less receptive to exercise. And that means that it takes a bigger signal each time in order to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Not fair, but true. So by pairing your workout with a high quality protein meal immediately afterwards, you are stacking two strong signals on top of each other. Now, could you wait 3 hours to have your meal with protein and still build muscle? Yes, but it wouldn't be as efficient. And why miss the opportunity to maximize the muscle benefits? What about eating protein early in the day? This is another super important and often overlooked lever that we can pull. Getting a fat dose of protein first thing in the morning helps to bring your body out of catabolism, which is muscle breakdown mode, and into anabolism, which is muscle building mode. Most women do the opposite. They have coffee for breakfast and then have most of their protein for dinner. And that is a huge mistake. Let's say you have 10 grams of protein for breakfast, 15 with lunch, maybe 20 over a couple snacks, and then 60 or 70 with dinner, hoping to get yourself to your daily goal. Now, you might hit your daily goal that way, but you've only actually hit that leucine threshold one time all day, which means that you missed opportunities all throughout the day to keep your body in anabolism and in muscle building mode. Ideally, you want your engine running all day, not just once at the end of the day right before bed. A much better approach is 30 to 40 grams of protein with breakfast, 30 to 40 grams with lunch, 30 to 40 grams with dinner, and then sprinkle some in over some snack. This provides multiple opportunities for muscle protein synthesis all throughout the day. And again, for peri and postmenopausal women, these timing strategies matter much more than they do for premenopausal women. You have to be much more intentional, and the goal is not just getting enough protein in for the day, but rather getting enough all throughout the day. I'm going to pause here for a minute and tell you that everything we're talking about today is just one piece of a much bigger picture. My book, Your Metabolic Reboot, covers all of it: how to eat, how to train, how to recover, and track progress to trade fat for muscle. It's everything I wish I knew when I was suffering those 10 to 12 hour shifts in the ER and wondering why nothing was working. I'm leaving the link in the description below. When it comes to macro timing, carbs matter too. Carbs are our body's preferred source of energy for higher intensity exercise like lifting weights. We're all lifting weights, right? This is where timing can be really helpful. I recommend having some carbs shortly before your workout. It doesn't have to be a huge meal, and it probably shouldn't be, but just something small like fruit or dried fruit, granola, toast, or oatmeal, ideally paired with some protein. Now, the reason I recommend against fasted exercise is that, especially for peri and postmenopausal women, our physiology is already prone to muscle loss and high levels of cortisol. And going into a workout underfueled can worsen those things. Now, an important and kind of unfair note is that this doesn't really apply to men. Men and women's bodies are different, our physiology is different, our hormones are different, and how we respond to different things as a result are different. And research shows that men do not have the same negative effects of training fasted as women do. So if your husband or your brother or your partner trains fasted and has a great experience, that's fine. It's different for women. Okay, so we're going to have some carbs before the workout, and it's also helpful to have carbs after, and that's for a few reasons. When we finish an intense workout, our cortisol levels are naturally high. And cortisol is catabolic, meaning it breaks down tissues, including muscle. So when we finish a workout, we want to bring ourselves out of that catabolic state as soon as we can. And we can do that by eating carbs. Number two, we already talked about how we're going to be eating protein immediately after a workout. Well, when we pair carbs with that protein, the insulin response to the carbs helps shuttle the amino acids into your muscles. And number 3 is probably the best reason, which is that after a workout or immediately after a workout, your body is most sensitive to insulin, meaning that you don't need as much insulin to manage the carbs that you eat, which means it's a great time to enjoy a particularly carby meal without worrying about its effect on your insulin resistance. When it comes to macro timing, fat does not matter nearly as much as the other guys. What I do want you to know is that fat slows the digestion of everything else eaten along with it. And this isn't a good or a bad thing, but it's actually something that we can take advantage of. There are times that we do want our metabolism to be slowed down. For example, when we have protein in the evening, it can be helpful to pair it with fat to slow the digestion so that your body has access to amino acids longer into the night, and it will keep your body in an anabolic or muscle building stage longer into the night. And then there are times that we specifically want our digestion not to be slowed down. For example, when we have carbs before a workout, we're doing that because we want the fast energy on board to power us through our workout. So if you were to have fat in that meal with the carbs shortly before the workout, your body would not have that same quick, easy access to the carbs as if you left the fat out of that meal. Another thing worth mentioning is that some women find that when they eat fat close to bedtime, it interferes with the quality of their sleep. Now, this is not the case for everybody, but it is for some. So it's worth experimenting and seeing how it affects you. This is what I really want you to take away from today. This doesn't have to be super complicated, and you don't have to have it all figured out to start. You definitely don't have to have totally mastered your macros before you're ready to think about macro timing. Just start with this. Prioritize protein. Try to get 30 to 40 grams per meal. Spread your protein out throughout the day. Have carbs around your workout and avoid fat in your pre-workout meal. These are not just small tweaks. These are adjustments that can totally change your body composition, your energy throughout the day, your ability to build and maintain muscle for the rest of your life. So these things are really worth paying attention to. I'm Dr. Rachel Felber, ER physician and women's health and strength coach. Thanks for watching. And if you found this helpful, subscribe to my channel. I put out new content every week for women who are serious about this stuff. And tell me in the comments, what is your biggest struggle when it comes to hitting your protein goal each day?